Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back with some league racing action here today. This time for round 11, I believe, of the GASR series. You can see these are the current standings, and this season so far has been a pretty mixed bag. I've had a number of race wins, some races that have been really good, almost driven perfectly. But there's been other races where I've been inconsistent, made quite a few mistakes, and for me, this is my first league racing season in about 2 years. So I feel there's definitely still a little bit of rustiness to get through and to improve on. So just need to improve that consistency. But we're arrived at Kota here today, and you can see my teammate, this wasn't planned before, but Brawny is giving me a nice little slipstream in the qualifying, and thank God he did, because this track, I don't know what it is. I actually enjoy driving this track, but the pace just isn't there, and that has been a theme throughout all of the F1 games back until 2018, even 2020. My pace around here, I've really struggled to be very quick over a lap. You can see repaying the favour, giving him a little bit slipstream, which this lap he did here on this banker, I think was enough for pole position. So, my teammate was rapid, but myself, even with this slipstream, which is going to give you about a tenth and a half, maybe even 2 tenths, we were just really lacking in the pace. And you can see
30.1, fuck.
Yeah, 30.1.
That's rapid.
Absolutely rapid. My PB was a 30.4 in Grand Prix mode, which sometimes is and sometimes isn't quicker than actually online. But this is my fastest lap in the session, and overall, when I look at my driving back, I think my setup is pretty good. Compare it to everyone else, I just don't think I am really pushing the limits of the track. How much momentum I can actually take, I just don't think I have the confidence to push to limits around here. In the race, different story, but as you'll see throughout this video, even in the race, I just was never completely confident. I always felt like I could maybe lose the car. This is a very low grip surface kind of track, and in the past, when I didn't have the pace, didn't even get through to Q3 in these back in the day, the race with the alternate strategy, it was actually very powerful around here. And because DRS wasn't as powerful as it is on this game, and the tyre wear and just the difference in pace between the compounds was quite significant, you could actually do really well with the alternate strategy. So qualifying wasn't actually all or end all in previous F1 games, but in this game, as I experienced at Austria and a couple of other rounds as well, the alternate strategy, unless you're like an F1 esports driver and you're just absolutely rapid and you can extract the maximum from it, the alternate strategy is actually quite difficult to make successful. Coming into this race, I was not planning to do that. I was going to see where I ended up in the qualifying. You can see second to last corner, absolutely nailed that, but the rest of the lap was pretty clean and tidy. But again, the pace just isn't there. 30.7, and
I'm really struggling.
Pretty disappointed that you could hear me say I'm struggling with that. And I think Carl, my championship rival P3, although we're not too far away in the qualifying, I don't think he had a slipstream. So without slipstream, I could have been maybe 12th, 13th in that qualifying. And it was a short qualifying for this one because we had the real life Grand Prix. And you're about to see in the very last moments, as we're on the grid, I changed to the alternate strategy, which again, I wasn't planning to do. I hadn't practiced. I didn't really put too much emphasis on the practice going into this one, because after last week's race where it wasn't too great, didn't want to put too much expectation, but did enough where I felt I could be comfortable. So we've got 4 lights, we've got 5 lights now, and I think I'm the only driver starting on hards in this top 10. I think maybe some people at the very back of the field with nothing to lose. You can see we get a pretty good, decent start actually on the hard tyre, and I think my starts in this game have actually been always really good, and the goal was just to maintain position. We've got F1 Alman, who's actually another kind of championship rival. He's P3 in the championship. Carl 24 is obviously the championship leader, my main championship rival, but he is just Mr. Consistent, and that's just something we've lacked in this season. I think we've had 2 or 3 race wins, but I think maybe just having a 2-year break from league racing, because the previous games I just really enjoyed that much, I think is definitely showing this season. So, gotta do our best for the remaining part, but I think I'm just gonna take it as a lesson and just to keep on building upon that as much as I can. But in this first stint, just maintaining P7, keeping within the DRS of the medium runners is essential. So right now, I was actually feeling pretty good. I wasn't going to fight too hard. As you can see, a little bit of a swerve here just to indicate to Alman I'm not really going to fight too hard here. So kind of like what I said in my last video and a few battles I got involved with at Jeddah, I don't want to be losing time to the guys ahead. So it makes no sense for me really fighting too hard here. As long as I'm within this DRS train, the lead pack, and I'm on the alternate strategy, this hard tyre, things are actually looking pretty good. As you saw at Monza, that actually worked out well for me, but the safety car definitely helped me there, whereas I would have had to have closed back in with the medium tyres. So if a safety car could come out quite late here, that would benefit me quite a bit. Because see, Sainz has got past me, so lots of compositions, but we are still with this lead pack. And you can see after 6 laps, this is actually where my tyres started to feel fairly equal to the mediums. So at this point here, this is where I was starting to push. And you can see Max up ahead of me does a little swerve, which is kind of a universal thing that someone's not really going to be trying too hard. You can see I do a little bit of a thank you back, and just making sure we are in this DRS train. So after 6 laps, things are actually looking quite promising. You can see lap 9 here, we are really starting to close in on leaders. This is where I thought the hard tyres were starting to very slowly come into their own. So I think this was probably maybe the fastest compound on track right now. But the problem with this game is that the tyres are kind of equally durable, and there isn't a huge difference really between them. You can see going down the inside of F1 Alman here, my other championship rival, just to force him into mistake. He uses quite a bit of the overtake, and we're going to try and get this move done, having to defend down the inside once again just to deter him. And now we're back into our starting position, P7, but after line naps, I kind of wanted to make ideally a little bit more progress in this. By comparing this to the Monza race I did with the alternate strategy, by lap 9 and 10, I think I started in P9 and I was in the race lead by lap 9. So, different tracks have different effects, but again, I think this shows that my pace, I just wasn't fully confident. Wasn't confident really pushing the car. You can see this is kind of a stage where people are diving into the pits. You can see I think Alwyn has gone into the pits, a couple of others as well. So now we're up into P6. And the goal is to really hope that these medium runners stay out for quite a while, drag me along, and then I'll have the faster compound coming towards the end of the race. But you can see there was already a fair bit of wear in my tyres here. There's another couple of drivers come into the pits. So, but you can still see the mediums aren't too bad. I kind of feel like they were just equal at this stage. And again, I think this is the issue of this game. There isn't enough of a difference between the compounds, and the durability is not really too different between them. So it's not as extreme when you're doing an alternate strategy as it was in previous games, where you'd really be struggling at the start, but then it'd be so powerful at the end. So coming into here, my teammate is the last of the medium runners to pit. He goes to lap 12. So that just shows, and you can still see we weren't exactly hustling his gearbox, so he still had quite a bit of pace, which again, I think from lap by 8 onwards, the hards were the quicker tyre, but I was really lacking the pace. You can see the gap is 14.6 seconds to Alwyn, who's kind of the net race leader, and you can see now it's Carl, now it's Sainz. So let's see how quickly they close in. And looking back, I know a lot of people said this to me during the live stream and after the race as well. I could have pitted a little bit earlier this, which I think you're right. I think I could have maybe pitted maybe like a lap earlier, potentially 2 laps earlier. But I think with that, again, I wasn't confident enough in my pace. So I pitted 2 laps earlier. By the end of the race, I think the hard tyre, there wouldn't have been enough of a difference in freshness of the tyres. And then the hards just would have been the quicker tyre at the end anyway. So I was just really banking on them again battling, not working together. And then if I could catch them at the end with still a big tyre advantage with the compound, that was kind of my strategy and kind of my thinking at this stage. But we have a lot of work to do here. As you can see, they've already come past. And if you look at the mini map on the left-hand side of the screen, as we're coming out of the pits, we're back into P12 now, make that P13, and you can see they're going round turn 2, going into turn 3 already. That is a big gap to close in. But again, if I pitted 2 laps earlier, would have maybe been 2 or 3 seconds closer, but then I wouldn't have had the freshness of the tyres. But as we move to lap 18, catching the first person here who, Clint, I don't think has even pitted yet, so I think he was maybe hoping for a safety car or something like that. So as we're going into this turn 1, was really hoping we won't go get held during this first sector, and yeah, he just lets me go, so very thankful to him. So now we're into P12, and the gap is about 6 seconds to Ickle 33, and you can see within the 3 laps or so, we actually caught up, set the fastest up of the race, so we were the fastest driver on track. But again, the more this goes on, the closer the tyre compounds are going to be together, and you can still see my teammate is leading the race. He is still quite a distance ahead, and we have 5 laps to go. So, and the problem is my teammate is so fast, kind of a similar problem I was facing at Austria. The fastest driver on the opposite compound is in the lead of the race. He is dragging them along, and you can see even the first stint with 12 lap old mediums, he was still actually keeping the distance ahead of me. So yeah, I ideally needed him to back them up, or another driver who wasn't as quite as fast to be leading. But the problem is DRS is so powerful in this game that they're not actually losing that much time. I'm not actually catching them quick enough at this stage. And again, the previous F1 games at 2020, 2018, or even 21, you could really maximize this alternate strategy. The DRS wasn't anywhere near as powerful, and there was a much bigger difference between the tyre compounds, both in pros and cons. So if you could handle being on the hard tyre at the start of the race, kind of like Jan Otmar does in F1 esports on previous F1 games, and this is what I used to do as well around here. Yeah, if you could survive the first stint, then you're going to be in a really beneficial position. But unfortunately in this game, unless they battle and they don't work together, then yeah, you're going to be struggling to make this work. But for me, I felt like I had no options. If I went in the medium at the start, yes, I could have maybe made up some positions and could have had good pace, but I just wasn't confident enough in my pace, so I decided to gamble, kind of like what I did at Monza and some other tracks, which worked out pretty well for me there. So that was kind of mentality again, but you can still see, even after not that many laps, I'm actually starting to struggle a little bit on these mediums, because after the hards, after 10 laps, they were starting to feel a little bit skittish. So that's why I wanted to extend that first stint as much as possible, so I got down the inside of Invincible F1. So the key is not to lose too much time here, but you will see just through the sequence of corners, not very optimal, and you're running into the back of F1 Alman here, was trying to outbreak Invincible F1, go down the inside here, and yeah, leaving some room, unlike Verstappen and Norris of their little battle, trying to go around the outside. And yeah, all this is doing is just wasting my battery, wasting each other's battery. And yeah, go through here, he gets a quite a nice switchback on me, and now I'm going to have to go around the outside of him here. So all this is doing is just delaying my progress and not making it easy. They all have penalties around me as well, but those penalties could potentially be removed. And because I'm down to 12%, I couldn't overtake this lap. I had to wait another lap to regain that battery again. So that's a lap loss that I could have done in terms of making progress. But now I'm behind F1 Albon, and it's important to get past him because he's quite close to me in the championship. So you can see Carl is up in that lead train. Again, don't know what the penalty situation is, so I'm going to go round the outside of this AlphaTauri here. Does he move over the outside? Yes, he does. Just enough for a Ferrari. Nice clean racing there. And now we're up into P9. And again, we just got to maximize this as much as we possibly can. So trying to dispatch of both of these two cars as quick as I possibly can, saving the ERS as much as possible during this middle sector. And Clint, who has now pitted, setting the fastest lap of the race, which takes it away from me. So that could have been an extra point. That a very crucial point for me in the championship. So really crucial to get a good exit here. Max doesn't have the DRS, so I'm not going to push with the battery. I want to conserve it as much as possible, and ideally overtake Max without using the overtake, and maybe even get Stefanic, if I can say it correctly, down the inside. So trying to do a nice clean move here, but we don't quite get it done. So he sticks it down the inside still. This time we do make it around the outside, so not doing what we did with Invincible, and you can see the gap up ahead is about 4 seconds, and they have penalties as well. So yeah, we can still maybe get some decent points, and right now we just need to get as many points as we possibly could. But as you're about to see here now, moving on to last lap, because of Brawny, or the guy in the lead, Spicer, I think, who was just so fast, I just wasn't gaining any time. And you can hear me say, we are not close enough. And the problem is, again, in this game, the DRS is just so powerful, it just negates the advantage you have on a different compound of tyre, despite having a much fresher tyre. And coming across the line, we're going to come home.
Yeah, it just didn't have the pace.
In P7.
Pace is just not good enough.
And yeah, like I just said there, I think if I started in mediums, probably would have come 7th. Done the alternate strategy here, come 7th. And for me, that's something I'm not really used to. I feel I always like to try and aim for a podium, aim for a top 5. The people in this league are very fast, but I think, yeah, on previous F1 games, I've always struggled with this track, but this game just doesn't really reward the alternate strategy anywhere near as much as other F1 titles. And I feel I'm definitely much better at fighting in the pack, trying to out-strategize people. Not out-strategize, but save the ERS. And the problem is, again, in this game, it's so easy to save the battery and it's so easy to use it. It doesn't really matter. You could just overuse it and then not really get punished. And DRS is just so powerful as well. So I honestly think that was probably the maximum that I could do today. So it is what it is. Carl, again, being very consistent. I will be missing Mexico this weekend because I actually will be away. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do that. I believe Carl will be missing a race code towards the end of the season. So there is still hope, still opportunity. But we've got to have some big results in these upcoming races. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon. Peace.